Many people in today's age have had a veteran that is near and dear to them, but not many have actually looked into the service that shaped the life of their loved one. Gary E. Sattazahn is one of these many veterans, and thanks to the Veterans History Project, I was able to research SP4 Gary Sattazahn, who served in the Army during the Vietnam War. Mr. Sattazahn was born on June 4, 1951, to Mother Anna Mae Sattazahn, who worked as a seamstress in a public shirt factory, and Father Harry Elias Sattazahn, who was a spray painter for Bright Bill Body Works. He was an only child and spent most of his time growing up writing and taking care of his horses. He first went to school in a one-room schoolhouse in Kutztown before transferring to Jackson Elementary School, then graduating from Elko High School. When Mr. Sattazahn turned 16, he got a job with a contractor and started building homes. But he was not able to continue this job after high school, as he was drafted into the service. He recalls his parents' reactions.
Not good. the Vietnam War was going on, so yeah, they didn't want me to go. I didn't want to go either. Got drafted, so.
Mr. Sattazahn began his basic training down in Fort Dix, New Jersey, which was an 8-week training program. Mr. Sattazahn recalls it as being pretty hard work, but nevertheless, he enjoyed it. He did many forced marches and many different types of physical training, too. He remembered what happens if you were late to formation.
Got to be on time. I can remember times where we were in Fort Dix, New Jersey, we were like on the 3rd floor. Well, if you didn't get down into formation in time, you had to do it all over again. And if you didn't do it in time, you had to do it all over again. So you run up and down 3 floors to get in formation on time. So that's kind of the mentality they had back then, just to get you to follow orders.
Yeah. Next spot he went for training was Fort Polk, Louisiana. There he did AIT training, which is short for Advanced Individual Training or Advanced Infantry Training. During training down in Louisiana, the men had to stay in pup tents, which are little tents for 2 people, with one man carrying half and another man carrying the other half. Mr. Sattazahn said that one time when they were away, a herd of wild cows came through and knocked over the whole camp.
So I remember one time we went out on training all day, we came back, and there was wild cows that ran through our tents and knocked the whole camp down. We had to set that up.
Where did the cows come from?
We don't know. We never did see them. They were just in there, and they had a blast while we were gone. We came back and came up over the hill, and our camp was all knocked over. I remember other times.
He also said that the weeks during their training was the prime time for tarantula migration, and everywhere they went there would be tarantulas all over the place. His buddy even went as far to keep one as a pet, as well as a scorpion. During basic training, Mr. Sattazahn qualified with the M16, M60, the 50 caliber machine gun, and many other weapons due to the fact that he was an infantry soldier. During his qualification, he got a near-perfect score with the M16. Mr. Sattazahn attributes this feat due to the fact that he was an avid hunter growing up and was well acquainted with guns. That day, 2 generals and a captain happened to be standing behind him and asked Mr. Sattazahn to be on a shooting team. Sadly, he was giving orders for Vietnam and was never able to join the team. As part of his training in Fort Riley, Kansas, Mr. Sattazahn was sent to Germany to play war games. Mr. Sattazahn ended up having many stories to share about his time over in Germany, but I will cut it down to 2. Over in Germany, they would often travel in tanks over the course of many days. Then at nights, they would set up tents outside of villages. One cold night, the Army personnel carriers, or otherwise known as tracks, didn't show up, so the men crawled into hay bales to stay warm. Eventually, Mr. Sattazahn and his buddies grew tired of their sea rations, so they decided to sneak into town to get some food. The group came back with a bottle of wine, cheeses, and bologna. All the men enjoyed the food, but it quickly ran out. So now there was more men that were eager for food, so Mr. Sattazahn and his buddies went back into town for more food. But a surprise was waiting for them when they came back.
We come walking up, and it's dark. We come walking up this road, and there stands our lieutenant and our first sergeant. We thought, oh, this ain't good. So they said, They gave us more money, told us go back into town, and we had more food and more wine. And we slept pretty good that night. So that's a funny story. Mm-hmm. Well, at first we thought, oh, this is it. We're going to get court-martialed. And no, they were right with us because
they're hungry as well.
They're hungry too.
Mr. Sattazahn also spoke about when they went into towns, they would get bored and want to buy some beer. But instead of getting out of their tank, they would wait for some kids to walk by, hand them the money, and wait for them to return with a case of beer and some change.
No, we'd hand them $20 or whatever it was back, probably $10 back in those days. But they'd come back with beer and they'd give us change. Can you imagine doing that today? You'd never see the kid again. No. So,
on Christmas Eve, 1971, Mr. Sattazahn would receive orders for Vietnam. He first went to An Giang, which is in the Central Highlands just southeast of Pleiku. Mr. Sattazahn's job was to pull guard duty at night and watch special monitors for any sign of enemy activity. If the men were to see signs of activity, they would call the towers, and the towers would look out with their starlight scopes, which are similar to night vision goggles. Mr. Sattazahn said that they would often look out with their M16s due to the fact that the enemy often carried explosive devices. Mr. Sattazahn also shared another story about his time in An Giang and how he was almost swept out to sea. While his buddies were unloading goods off of some trucks, Mr. Sattazahn decided to go out for a quick swim. Unbeknownst to him, the undertow was extremely strong that day, and he ended up getting caught in it.
I can remember, it felt like I was going 50 miles an hour backwards, and when I came up, I was about 150 yards away from the shore. And, I didn't know that you should swim parallel to the beach, so I'm swimming, trying to get back in. And I did. I got back in, thank goodness.
How long did that take?
I don't know, but I was out of breath. And then I remember...
Luckily, Mr. Sattazahn was able to swim back into shore and pointed out to his buddies another man that was struggling in the undertow. In the end, both men ended up being fine, but probably didn't go swimming for a while after that. But An Giang wasn't Mr. Sattazahn's only station, and after 3 months, he was moved to Da Nang. In Da Nang, Mr. Sattazahn resumed the same job he held prior over in An Giang, pulling guard duty at evening and at night. But during this time, the North Vietnamese overran the DMZ with tanks. The DMZ, otherwise known as the Demilitarized Zone, is a line meant to separate North Vietnam from South Vietnam. However, this didn't stop North Vietnam from invading in what was later called the Eastern Invasion. During this time, Mr. Sattazahn and his buddies were hit with rocket and mortar attacks up to 5 times a week for 3 whole months. There was one particular event that happened to Mr. Sattazahn in Da Nang that earned him a Bronze Star. One evening, after celebrating his friend's birthday, Mr. Sattazahn went to wash up, but not before hearing a few mortars popping. Immediately, he hit the ground to protect himself from the explosives. Luckily, the outside of the shower protected him from the shrapnel. After that, he got into his jeep and drove to a separate bunker where his CO was at. Mr. Sattazahn and the captain hopped in the jeep and went tearing across the perimeter of their base. Eventually, they sought shelter behind a few other bunkers and remained safe. During this particular attack, half of the outfit had gone home, and they are all told that those who stayed died in the attack, but the 2 halves met up in Saigon and the miscommunication was cleared up. However, the attack did end up destroying much of their base, with one of the things being exploded is the bed of the soldier whose birthday was that day. The man was supposed to be asleep in the bed, but another soldier fell sick, so the man had to replace the sick man's position, which likely saved his life. Eventually, Mr. Sattazahn was able to come home, but he couldn't immediately go to Pennsylvania. Due to the severity of the Vietnam War, many men were unable to immediately transfer into civilian life, so the government mandated a 6-week stay at a fort in order to slowly adjust to quote-unquote normal life. However, Mr. Sattazahn remarks the stay as the following.
To me, it was just something that the government said you had to do, and it was boring, really boring. You had to go to formation, you got food, you watched TV, and you had to go to formation, you watched food, or you ate food, and you watched TV, and that was what you did for 6 weeks, which was really boring.
Yeah. Finally, the 6 weeks came and went, and Mr. Sattazahn was able to go home. He was able to take a military flight to Harrisburg, and from there he hitched a ride on a taxi all the way back to his parents' house. He says he never had an issue with the community being an ex-military. In fact, he said that employers were more willing to hire him. From there, he got a job as a carpenter, then got a job installing cabinets, then became an operations manager at Kohl's Building Products, where he would then stay until retirement. After he got discharged, he would soon meet Ann Keller, and later on they were married and had their first and only child, Julie Sattazahn. Ultimately, Mr. Sattazahn doesn't really know how his life might have turned out if he was never drafted. He remarks that this might just be what he was meant to do in life. He does say that he lost trust in the government due to the Vietnam War, something many people also lost in that time period. Mr. Sattazahn said that his main takeaway from his service is war is never necessary. The main thing people should be worried about is keeping the peace. Shortly after the interview, just as I was leaving, Mr. Sattazahn remarked that he didn't feel like a hero, just a man that did what the government told him to do. I firmly believe that this view is wrong. Mr. Sattazahn should be regarded as a hero, but not just for his service. He's a man who lives his life through faith, a man that always helps out the less fortunate when possible, a man who cares deeply for his family. Despite the hardships he has faced through life, service-related or not, he remains pleasant and kind to all those around him. I believe that my grandpa is a hero, no matter what he says about it. In conclusion, researching a veteran's life can do a lot for the veteran and the researcher. I now have a newfound respect for my grandpa, for his service, and the fact that he was more than willing to record and share his experience for future generations to learn from. SP4 Gary Sattazahn will be regarded and remembered as a brave man who helped fight for people whose names he may never know, and for that he is a hero in my eyes.